to D&H TV. I'm Chris Phillips. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us today. Today we're going to be talking about elevating your remote work lifestyle. And we've got two great speakers to help me today. From D&H, we've got Eric, who is the Modern Collaboration Supervisor. Eric, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a nice snowy day here in Harrisburg.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we also have John Flynn, who is the Senior Cloud Vendor Manager. John, how's it going?
Good, Chris. How you doing?
I am doing excellent. So for those of you who haven't joined us before or want to get a little bit more used to the platform you're looking at, if you have any questions throughout this broadcast, I encourage all of you guys to ask any questions you might have. There is a Q&A box that I'm highlighting for you guys. Ask any questions that might come up. I will kind of bring them into the conversation. We want to try and make this as much of a collaborative conversation, less John and Eric talking at you. We want to be able to talk with you here. So you can go ahead and ask any questions you might have through there. We do also have some resources available. Go ahead and click on those if you need more information. Look at our line card, things of that nature. And as we kind of go through it, we'll have some poll questions that we'll throw your way and kind of get some more interaction from you guys. But to get started, we'll start with you, Eric. How about you tell everyone a little bit about what you do for D&H?
Sure, absolutely. Like you said, I am the Modern Collaboration Supervisor. So I manage our team of collaboration specialists as well as vendor-funded specialists. So any UC or broadband needs, things like that, that fall under John as the vendor business manager for D&H. I cover all of those with my team.
Cool. John, why don't you give everyone a little slice of your daily life here at D&H?
I sure will, Chris. Thanks, and welcome, everyone. I'm John Flynn, so I'm the Senior Vendor Business Manager here at D&H. My role really is to manage our vendors, right? So anything from contract negotiations to marketing plans, business plans, I own the P&L, operationalize as much as I can, fill in the gaps, as our resellers come to us with opportunities, and if we don't have the right solution, it's my job to go out there and find vendors that can fill that solution. So I've been here a little over 3 years. I started with Eric 3 years ago. Prior to here, I worked for another distributor. Won't mention any names, doesn't really matter. And then prior to that, I owned my own consulting company. I used to do cloud consulting for 3 years. And then prior to that, I worked for Cisco VAR. So I've really been in the UC world for about 25 years. So this is, although Eric is he's the expert here, I do know a little bit about UC myself.
All right, Eric, we're going to put you to the test here. Because we're getting a lot of great questions about UC. But to start off today, I wanted to kind of do kind of a brief recap of the last 2 years, because we kind of moved to this primarily work from home lifestyle early 2020. And now we're sitting here in early 2022. And the challenges have evolved drastically from 2020 to 2022. So to get us started, can you guys give us kind of an idea of what challenges we're facing today and how they differ from the challenges we were facing at the beginning of this in 2020? Sure.
Eric, you want to take this one or you want me to go first?
Go ahead. You go first. I'll take the next one.
All right.
Wow, Eric's already punting.
I know he is. I tried to tee him up, but he passed, so that's okay. But COVID's been a challenge for everybody, right? So just getting laptops, notebooks, just so people can work from home, that's been a huge challenge. And then trying to find the right equipment. And then how do you have your employees working from home as if they were working in the office? Huge challenge. You really need to simulate that office environment at home. And there are many distractions at home, as we all know. You probably can't hear my 2 dogs barking, but I think the Amazon guy just showed up at my house. So they're going crazy. They're trying to get to the door. They're hungry, so I think they want to bite his leg. But things like that. It's hard to create that work environment where you don't have those distractions. So I think what people have adopted to, and this hybrid world, which I do believe is here to stay for a long time, you need to give employees those tools that help them block out all that noise. I have 4 or 5 different headsets that I use. I didn't think I'd have to use it today because no one's home. But within the technology, it's really evolved too. So I have noise canceling headsets that blocks out. Like I wouldn't have heard my dogs barking, and you wouldn't have heard them bark. I don't know if you heard them anyway, but
No.
okay, that's good. But just finding the right technology, I think it's a huge opportunity for all of us. Just again with the lack of raw materials these days, it's hard to get equipment for folks. I think just the shipping, just the transportation of items back and forth has been a huge struggle for all of us. I'm lucky. I live in Buffalo, New York, so I was equipped already 3 years ago to work from home. But I can't imagine what it's like. I don't know about you, Eric. I can't imagine what it's like if you're used to working in an office with just a structure, right? There's your phone, there's your computer, there's your manager, there's your colleagues over here if you have questions. Adapting has really made it a huge challenge over the last 2 years. I don't know, Eric, you talk to resellers a lot more than I do, but what are they telling you?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the main challenges for resellers who have employees themselves, or even their customers that are working from home, a lot of those challenges that you mentioned are right in the front line of that. I think it's about having not only the hardware that you need in order to make sure that you have the video capabilities and the phone capabilities, but it's also the software to kind of back that up, right? The collaboration tools, the correct video conferencing equipment. I mean, anything like that, to act like you are in the office, to have team meetings, to have customer calls, to have customer meetings, all while being able to be in your home. That's been a big challenge, and it was a huge challenge for people to do with kind of no warning. They just kind of had to jump right into it. And I think for the most part, the industry has adapted really well, and the resellers that I've talked to have really helped their customers to adapt really well to that new environment very, very quickly.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things to talk about on that front that we'll get to. Not only how the hardware has changed, how the software that we're using has changed and adapted to a more work from home environment rather than an office environment. Jeff in one of the chatters brought up that lack of supply is still a major issue, and that's not entirely wrong. We still have issues with getting devices and things of that nature. So when you also have a lack of supply, it's also trying to figure out, well, how do I make do with what I have? And that's where you can maybe leverage more software solutions that we can talk about a little bit later. But there's something I wanted to touch on, and I'll let you start with this one, Eric. John did talk about that he believes that the work from home is going to be a primary thing for the foreseeable future. Do you agree with that? How long do you continue to see this lifestyle kind of continuing, even if we come out of the other end of this the pandemic within the next 18 months?
Yeah, I feel like the pandemic has kind of fundamentally changed the way that people look at doing business, right? I think that there's going to be a lot more remote work and work from home and that sort of thing for the foreseeable future. I also think that there are still going to be needs for a hybrid environment where you are working from home, but maybe you go into an office for meetings, and there are people that are remote and in the office.
Maybe you have access to a studio every now and then that you can come in and do a webcast from.
Right, exactly. Maybe you go into the studio every once in a while. But yeah, there's going to be people that need to not only work from home, but also be able to work from an office or from a group setting. So you're going to need tools and solutions that help you do both of those things at the same time.
Yeah, and I can speak for a lot of the D&H co-owners, because there's a small contingent of us that are here at the office today, and coming back into the office after being at home for a while, it's another difficult transition. How do I kind of go back to the way things were, even if it's for just a day or two? So it's still a lot of trying to figure out. John, you had something?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. I think employees themselves are going to dictate this, right?
Yeah.
In the last year, they say record number of employees have left their job because they went somewhere else where they could find something that's more structured that they require, right? So maybe it saves on babysitting, right? Or wherever you might put your kids. There you go. Just I think I saw some poll the other day that 75 to 80% of all employers are going to have some sort of hybrid type environment where you can work from anywhere. One of my associates actually works for Eric. She's going to work she lives here in Buffalo, New York, but she's going to go to Florida for a month. But as long as she brings her laptop or headset, it doesn't really matter where she works. We have the technology here that adapts to whatever the environment's going to dictate to us. So I think employers have no choice but to adapt to some sort of hybrid, unless you're in like a mission critical type business, right? If you're in a hospital, obviously you can't do nursing from home or you can't be a doctor from home. Although telemedicine is on the rise too. Yeah. But I think it's great. I think what COVID, if there's one positive thing from COVID was it proved to employers that people can be trusted to work just as hard, if not harder, from home, and to give them that work-life balance.
Yeah. So we've talked about like some of the difficulties. What are some of the other disadvantages to having your workforce primarily working from home that you kind of see? Eric, you want to start that one off?
Yeah, I mean, some of the disadvantages that we have from working from home, I think, is the loss of that somewhat tribal knowledge that you can kind of get from being in an office. Standing up and walking over to the person's desk next to you, or having a quick 5-minute huddle in a small huddle room or something like that on the spur of the moment. I think you kind of lose those connections a little bit from being at home. So I think it's important to be able to kind of do those things remote, and the technology's there to let you do it. It's just, I think a lot of companies need to, and a lot of organizations need to figure out how to do that from their home and work that into their daily processes and activities and things like that. I think that's a huge challenge.
So I think that's a great topic to kind of start on talking about what products are out there to help facilitate that collaboration between these groups. Specifically, let's talk on the cloud side. Let's kind of talk about, first of all, general office work, and then what about applications like call centers and things of that nature? What tools or software is out there that can help our resellers get their clients working better together in this work from home environment?
So I'll answer that one. So for me, even though I have a bunch of UC vendors internally here, a great app tool that I use is Teams, right? I mean, during the pandemic, I know D&H has we've grown exponentially. We went from 4 billion to 5 billion to I think 6 billion this year, and we've hired over 200 employees. I've never met any of the new employees. People work for me. I've never met them face to face before. It's like it's a bizarre thing, but having tools like Teams, if you have Zoom, WebEx is a big one too that we saw a lot of. Just to even get that face to face is big. I know Eric. Eric has to manage a team from home, right? Having those tools that help us prove out the KPIs, right? His team has to make so many phone calls per day. They have to create so many opportunities. They have to recruit so many partners. With today's technology and UCaaS and CCaaS, it allows Eric to be able to manage from afar without micromanaging, right? So it's almost like he's in the office without being in the office. So really, I think that the tools that we have internally here have really adapted to this workflow, and our vendors have adapted to that too. Some of our bigger vendors, whether it's Ring Central, 8x8, Nextiva, Avaya is huge. Avaya has actually grown exponentially because they're moving everything that they have on-prem to the cloud. so they can adapt to this. You can add an employee in 5 minutes. You can get them a DID in 30 seconds. You can get them an 800 number in 20 seconds. And you can route your calls, and you can, again, you can watch your contact centers as much as you want. It's really, today's technology, I think, is awesome. That's why I love cloud. I don't know, that's why Eric's in it. I'm not sure why Chris hasn't joined the posse, but I think he likes broadcasting. So.
Because I report up to the same chain as you guys. Cloud is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off of what John said real quick about the contact center stuff, I think one of the really neat things about some of these solutions is the ability to kind of manage, if you do have a contact center or a call center, you can manage those phone queues, you can manage the inbound calls, and you can manage everything for employees that are working at home. So they're answering these phone calls and they're doing their work, on the phone from their home or their home office, and you're managing it from your home, and there doesn't actually have to be a physical office or a physical call center for this to take place, which is really intriguing to kind of see stuff like that work.
Yeah, if any of our resellers out there are having opportunities where their clients are running into issues where they're not able to effectively manage their call centers from a remote environment, please give our cloud team a call, because they're wonderful tools. I think there have been some that we've demoed here, at least within the solutions lab, but there are options out there. It's been amazing to see how the software has started to kind of take advantage of all these great hardwares that are coming from, Logitech, Intel, all the hardware makers. Starting to take advantage of it, like noise cancellation. I mean, if you own a Teams has the ability to do noise cancellation through software. That's something that didn't exist before the pandemic. So they're really listening to what people need and kind of adjusting the software to match the hardware. So on that front, why, and I'll let John start with this one, why should our resellers kind of look to D&H for their clients' UC solutions? What kind of makes D&H special and kind of gives us the edge when we're doing UC solutions? Yeah,
I hate to say these words, right? One-stop shop, but it really is a one-stop shop. If your end user or a reseller goes to, we'll pick on RingCentral, right? You go to RingCentral, you're a RingCentral partner with them, right? That's all you have is RingCentral. If the customer already has RingCentral, they don't like it, you don't have any options. I think D&H provides those options, right? We have at least 100 different agreements with different UC telecom type vendors. So you can get all that software from us, but you also need the hardware, right? So again, if you're with RingCentral, you have to buy their phones. You can't make any profit margins on the phones. You can come to D&H, you can buy the E-Link phones from us, you can buy the Jobber headsets, the Logi headsets, whatever you might want or your customer might want, and you can kind of diversify. And then when you talk about payment too, right? A lot of end users are very savvy these days. They don't want to spend their, they don't want to make a CapEx these days, right? They don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. So they'd rather go to an OpEx. So at D&H, as you know, Chris and Eric, we have a portal. It's an X as a service portal where you can actually order all your equipment, order all your software, and present that to your end user, your customer, in one monthly price. You get paid, as our resellers will get paid all up front, right? Our leasing company handles all the billings with the customers, with their customers. But again, it gives them one shop stop, as well as one throat to choke. So if something's not working for our vendors, we have options to move them, here or there. So I think we have a lot of leverage that we can offer to our partners by working with us directly.
Eric, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that John's right. It gives us a lot. It's an advantage to be able to offer not only the software but the hardware, but also to go to, if you're a reseller, to go to your customer with more than one quote option. To be able to say, here's RingCentral, here's 8x8, here's Nextiva, here's 3 quotes from 3 different providers. so really you're cutting out any sort of competition, because maybe maybe they are going to someone else to get another quote, but if you can provide them with 3 different options and 3 different price points, it's only going to be a benefit.
Yeah, and you can do that on the software side, and on the hardware side, you got 3 or 4 different options as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One thing to add to Eric, because those are great comments, is as you register your deals, you can register them with 3 different partners, and it locks all your competition from selling those solutions to your customer. I think most customers, I sold to customers, end users for many years. They always got 2 or 3 quotes, whether they trusted me as their advisor or not. They still wanted to make sure they were getting the best deal. So by registering the deals, 3 of them, number one, it locks you into that with those 3 vendors, and it protects you, so nobody else can go and sell that account. It does happen once in a while, although I'll admit that Eric knows this, but we have enough leverage with our partners where if somehow a direct person finds out that there's an opportunity and they go in and sell it, we make sure our partners get paid. And it does happen once in a while, unfortunately, but we always make sure our partners get taken care of. Huge advantage working with D&H. We've got
Absolutely.
some big muscles between Dan and Michael. They make things happen.
All right, that's a great place to start. And for right now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and push out a poll question to our audience, and ask them if they've had a chance to register for the D&H Cloud Marketplace. If you can take a minute to answer that, that'd be greatly appreciated. While you're doing that, I would like to kind of get them started. Like if they've never been on the cloud marketplace, what solutions do you recommend for customers that are looking to start or to bring someone into a new UCaaS solution? We'll start with you, Eric.
Yeah. So I think that if you haven't offered UCaaS before, one of the nice things about offering that solution is you don't necessarily need to have a ton of experience selling UCaaS or phone systems or things like that. By working with D&H, we can connect you with a specialist at those specific vendors. They will train your end customers. They will do all the setup, all of the back end support, all of that for you. So you don't necessarily need to be the expert. You just need to get the opportunity. You register that deal and kind of go from there. So there's really not a lot of red tape or anything like that as far as entry into selling UCaaS. You don't need to hire extra employees or anything like that, because those vendors will do all of that for you.
So the vendors have resources that they can leverage to help our resellers
Exactly.
deploy and manage the product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And not only that, they'll take care of any sort of back-end billing or customer service or anything like that, to kind of free up the reseller's time to go out and find that next deal.
So typically what's supposed to happen too, guys, is, once, let's just say someone signs up with Avaya, right? You sign up to become an Avaya partner. We take care of, the sign up, getting you registered with the partner, getting you on their portal. You're assigned a market development executive who typically comes out and does that enablement. He'll train you, he'll train your team on how to sell, position Avaya. And then after your first couple of deals, which they handhold you through all the deals, you can be as involved or uninvolved as you want. If you want it to be straight referral, throw it over the fence and they'll do it soup to nuts. They'll do the proof of concept, they'll do the ROI, they'll do the contracts, they'll do everything for you. You don't have to do anything. But we do know we have a lot of savvy resellers here at D&H. Those guys can go ahead and get certified and take advantage of all those co-services dollars and bill them themselves. But eventually they help you build the pipeline, and then as soon as you hit like 5 to 10 deals, you get assigned a channel manager. Now, most of these vendors have somebody in just about every major city. And if they're not in your city, they're in the next city over. They're there to help drive business for you. And you did mention Marketplace, Chris. For all of our UC vendors, none of them are on the Marketplace. It's not something that you can rebill mostly due to FCC regulations. You need to keep up in the taxes. You need to have special software. And no one ever wants to get audited by the FCC. This is really a referral.
That's
Yeah.
my time of the year. So when the FCC knocks on my door.
This is set up as an agent model. So what happens is, as our resellers sell to their end users, our vendors pay us a commission on a monthly basis every single month. And there's very, very lucrative upfront spiffs. There's no other category you can sell where you can get. I just wrote a checkout for a guy the other day for $52,000. That was his upfront spiff for selling 180 some odd seats of CCAS. He got a $52,000. You can't tell me he can't motivate his team to go out there and find more opportunities, in 100 seats or plus. Even at 10 seats, you're going to get thousands of dollars up front. It's a wonderful thing. So, Chris, you asked, what's the best way to get into it? UCAS is by far the easiest. Bandwidth, Eric knows this. Eric's my specialist on bandwidth. Don't ever forget about the low-hanging fruit. All this cloud stuff, you need bandwidth, you need backup, whether it's, 5G is coming. That wideband's coming real, real soon. And we won't have to worry about people taking out light poles or Billy Bob digging up the fiber under the ground because everything will be wireless. Can't wait for that, but that's, probably 5-6 years in the making. But we provide our partners with bandwidth opportunities, primary backup, and you still make money. You don't make a ton of money on the bandwidth piece, so don't get me wrong. You're not going to get rich. But again, it keeps the competition out, and it keeps you more sticky with your customers. Mm-hmm. Eric sells a ton of.
There's nothing like selling bandwidth along with whatever other solutions you're selling. I mean, it could be just servers. Even if you're just selling hardware servers, sell the bandwidth, because it's going to create a monthly reoccurring revenue stream for you on a commission basis. You're going to get it every month, and you're also going to you're also not going to have to do any of the support. I mean, the contract's going to be with the bandwidth provider, whether it's Comcast or Spectrum or Verizon or whoever it is, and your end customer. So you can manage that for them. You can be their point of contact, and you create that sticky relationship and get paid on it. So even when you're selling hardware, I mean, bandwidth is a great solution no matter what you sell to kind of offer to your customers.
We did have a question. Go ahead, John.
I'm not trying to brag, but that recurring revenue, it's huge for any business, right? I worked for this Cisco bar for a long time. And when I first started, all they were selling was long distance because local wasn't open up. There was no such thing as the internet. There was a dial-up, but there was no internet. But they were bringing in about $20,000 a month in recurring revenue through long distance. I mean, we were selling cable and wireless for like 50 to 60 cents a minute. It was crazy. But as time evolved, when I left that company, it was a little over $400,000 a month in recurring revenue. Thousands and thousands of, whether it's local lines, copper lines, T1s, MPLS networks, SD-WAN networks, UCAS, CCAS, but $420,000. When you're working for a Cisco VAR, there are cold months, right? Because typically you're selling larger opportunities. This really helped keep the lights on for 100 plus employees. So although it takes a little while to build up, that annuity stream is amazing what it does for the profitability of everyone's company. Our company sold to a small little company called, I think it was E+. It was many years after I left, but that valuation of that company, because of that recurring revenue, was 5 to 6x what it would normally have been. So recurring revenue is big stream here for UC.
And we talked about bandwidth, and we're talking about bandwidth. There was a question that came in specifically about how do some of these work from home workers manage that bandwidth within the house to make sure that what they're working on isn't maybe trumped by the Netflix stream of the show that your kid's watching in the other room to keep them quiet while you're working, or things of that nature. What hardware software options are available to them to kind of help manage that connection within their house? We'll go to you, Eric.
Sure. A lot of the UC providers that we partner with will do bandwidth prioritization, right? So they'll go in and they'll take a look, and they'll be able to set it up so that you are prioritizing your work calls over that Netflix show, or you're prioritizing video conferencing over, other things. So they can go in and on the back end and make sure that that is set up correctly through the ISP and that sort of stuff, to make sure you're not being dragged down by the kids in the next room trying to watch Blue's Clues or whatever.
Whatever the show is.
Yeah.
I'm not very tech savvy, so I can't really set up QoS in my home environment, but I actually bought 2 circuits, right? I have Verizon Fios for myself, and then I have Spectrum for my wife and my daughter. So they utilize that for their bandwidth. I take on the Verizon Fios. But, one big challenge that we had during COVID, Chris, and Eric, you know this too, is there's so many students, there's estimated 20 million students out there that don't have access to internet. Now, for a variety of reasons, right? They could be inner city kids that, unfortunately, they don't have the budgets within the family to pay for it. They could be in a rural area where, quite frankly, none of the cable companies want to, extend their fiber out there because, there's no ROI in it for them. So, at least for education, the CARES Act has really helped a lot of these students access the internet. We partnered with a company called BroadSky. Now, BroadSky is what they call an aggregator. So they've partnered with AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and then in Canada with a couple, Bell Canada and I forget the other one, Rogers. But what they can do is they actually built as a portal here at D&H for our resellers. You can go in there, put in the zip code where you live, and it will tell you who has the strongest bandwidth in that area, the strongest network. So you're not guessing that, I have Verizon Cellular, I'm going to use Verizon for my data card. That's not always the case. So, we offer things like that to our partners and customers for their end users. But if you're in the education space, we've had many customers or resellers take advantage of the CARES Act. It pays for it for the kids. And quite frankly, my daughter does tutoring at school for the younger kids. And she does everything video and tutors them over video. I do the parent-teacher conference over video. So it's nice to have those options here at D&H for our partners. But I wish I could set up QoS. I don't know. I'm not a router guy.
Well, it seems like you have your own little QoS going right now. I'm fairly certain your wife and daughter have more bandwidth than you do.
That's what I tell them. Yes, I tell them that.
So on that front, and talking more about the wireless solutions, is there any other applications in terms of UCAS that we see wireless being important in terms, like we hear a lot about education in rural. I'm starting to see more remote users also utilize mobile so they can work maybe a little bit more freer and independent. Is that something we're also seeing as well?
I'm definitely seeing it in the education space, the EDU space. We're enabling the Chromebooks. Some of them have the embedded SIM cards.
Yeah.
So we can enable them from afar as long as we have the IDMI number. Others have the slot that you can just stick the SIM card into. And then the ones that don't, they have a USB. We have a dongle that we can attach and then plug in the SIM card. So we can offer it in a variety of flavors. For the UCAS partners, I don't know. I know Spectrum. They because they did it for somebody. One of my friends has an MSP here in Buffalo. They put in the primary fiber, and they also put in a SIM card for backup. Right, so it's a wireless backup in case there's a fiber cut or an outage. At least they have two roads in and out of their office, and they can load balance that too if there's congestion.
So if any of our resellers have an opportunity where a school is looking for Chromebooks that have wireless or mobile capabilities, and we are able to get the hardware on the D&H side, we can also get the mobile connection set up on from your team as well?
Yeah, we can do it public or private. So This company I referred to before was BroadSky. They have set up private LTE networks for schools. So they know that all that transport is just directed to the school. They do a wonderful job, enabling schools. And it also keeps kids off the general internet too, right? So if your Chromebook's enabled on the LTE network that's private, they can't venture off. They got to focus on the school. Hate to lock them down, but you can lock them down.
LTE connections sometimes aren't the strongest in the world. So if you can manage that bandwidth by making sure they're only doing classwork, more the better. Eric?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree with John on that. I think that the ability to lock them down and so that you're not monopolizing that bandwidth using other things is key, especially for students.
We're coming close to the end here, so if you guys have any more questions you'd like to ask, we'll be sticking around here for another 10-15 minutes. Please go onto the dashboard, and I will try and make it flash for you one more time of where you can ask a question. Go ahead and ask any more questions you might have. One of the questions that came in was how do customers deal with a situation where they've standardized on one UC platform but need to connect to other UC platforms? Is that through hardware or is that through software that they can deal with that?
So that's a good question. So let's just say they standardized on, I don't know, Vonage, right, for their UCaaS type solution, but they need some sort of call center application. So we have vendors, specifically Avaya. You can actually plug in their call center application into Vonage. You can plug it into any actually UCaaS vendor or on-prem vendor. So if you have an old Toshiba at the office or an old, I don't know, I used to sell Teltronics and Fujitsu. If you have those old systems on-prem and you need to make that convertible to a CCaaS type solution, Avaya has those options.
Cool.
I don't know about you, Eric. Do you have any other comments to that one?
Yeah.
No, not so much. I think you covered it with Avaya as far as like the stacking of the solutions go. So.
Yeah, and on the conference side of things, when you're talking about like video conferencing and things of that nature, Logi's got a suite of products that we've mentioned here in the past, and their videos you can go out there and get for the rally bar and things of that nature that might be Teams focused. They might standardize on Teams, but also have the ability to connect to Zoom or what have you, any of these other platforms. So depending on what you're looking for, there are options to help you. I would probably say the best thing you can do is reach out to D&H. If you have a specific example of, hey, we are doing X, but they might need to connect to Y, how can they do that? And we can help you out through those talks. Kind of starting to wrap things up here. We'll start this one with you, Eric. We've been doing this kind of work from home for 2 years now. What piece, whether it's hardware or software, have you kind of become your personal favorite for work from home that if I took from you today would make you cry? And I'm not going to take it from you because I like you, but what's your personal piece of technology, whether it's hardware or software, that you've been kind of leaning on during this work from home time?
It's actually been two, to be honest. If I can be honest, it's two.
Well, okay, I said I wouldn't take one away, but I might take both of them.
You might take both. Okay. Well, one is the headset, the noise canceling headset that I have. I have a dog and my wife also works from home. So, there's a lot going on, and the noise canceling headphones have been great. So like you can hear the difference when there's things going on in the house around me, as well as the people on the other end, don't hear what's going on in the next room over or something like that. Right. The other thing is Teams. D&H is standardized on Teams as our unified communications platform that we use here internally. And managing a sales team, being able to have a quick call with them, or message them remotely, or set up file sharing and things like that, all from that one platform has been really, really, really useful. So I can create different channels and create different team mailboxes and file repositories and all sorts of stuff for my team and just send out links to specific reports or things like that, and we can all collaborate live in those documents. That one has been, those two things have really been the lifesaver and my lifeline for working from home.
John, what about you?
So I would agree with Eric. My headphones are, that's been a savior for me. My dogs drive me crazy. But the other tool, because I do sign a lot of contracts, I see contracts every day.
Yeah.
I utilize Dropbox HelloSign. So e-signature has been, I don't have to print off any paper anymore. I don't have to sign it, scan it, and all that other stuff. E-signature has been a blessing for me and for the work that I do.
Yeah, take it for someone that occasionally will have to sign documents and send it back to HR here. It's a pain. Like I will okay, let me open up this document on my tablet and sign it with my finger and then send it to HR. It can be a problem sometimes. Well, John, Eric, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's been a lot of great information. If anyone has any additional questions after this broadcast, how can they get a hold of you guys?
Just our emails are probably the simplest, right? It's just our first letter of our first name, last name at dnh.com.
Yep.
Doesn't get much easier than that.
Right.
You can also reach out to my sales team at Modern Collaboration at dnh.com as well. So you can get in touch with the sales team and that's our team mailbox.
Cool. And if you guys have any more specific ProAV questions, you can reach out to ProAV at dnh.com or ProAVCA at dnh.com if you're on the Canada side. Well, that's going to do it for this broadcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Our next broadcast will be a Solutions Lab, a DHTV. It'll be Imagining the Future with Lenovo's Z Series products. If you haven't had a chance to check those out, I highly recommend you come to that broadcast. We'll be giving away 10 gift cards. The broadcast is 10 $30 DoorDash gift cards, and that broadcast is on March 3rd at 2 p.m. This broadcast will be available on demand on dnh.com /DNHTV or dnh.ca/DNHTV within about the next 48 hours. But with that, John, Eric, thank you so much. And everyone, you have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everybody.